Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Wednesday webinar. My name is Anita Parker. I'm one of the educational developers at the Center for Teaching and Learning. And for this week's webinar, the title is How Much Should I Assign? Determining Student Workload. This is a popular topic. We had lots of interest in registration. So thank you everyone for making time in your busy schedule to attend today. I will speak for about 10 minutes. And then after that, we will open the floor for questions and answers. All right. The intention of this webinar is to connect workload to the student experience and success in a course, and to suggest for you some guidelines, some rules of thumb that are, I hope, reasonable and manageable. And of course, that's what we can chat about afterwards as well. You'll notice on the screen, I've put a bit.ly. That is to a source article that I used to create this webinar. So you can refer to that when you get the video and you're having a look at the video afterwards. The bit.ly is there for you. All right. It's a precise equilibrium, the optimal student workload in a university course, not too much, not too little, but just right. A lighter load is optimal if learning tasks are authentic and meaningful and well aligned with your course learning outcomes. But too light of a workload can be demotivating and unproductive. A heavier load can provide a challenge that's formidable and intriguing, and students can rise to the occasion. Too heavy can impede learning, provoke surface memorization and academic dishonesty, and can even hinder program progression if a student has to repeat a course. Student workload is difficult to quantify because it's a perceived phenomenon. The weightiness of a course from the student perspective is influenced by many factors that you see on the screen here, such as their learning styles, motivation, learning skills, the instructor-student relationship, the student's perceived value of the course, and their interest in the content and the activities. There's always school life balance, the activity type, because not all work is equally heavy or equally promotes learning, and online versus in-person courses, or the components of a course. So to measure workload, instructors are limited to using estimations of time required for each course component. And sources of estimation error include varying levels of student ability and engagement, differing cognitive difficulty among tasks, but nonetheless, time remains the most useful means for an instructor to calculate student workload for a course. The Carnegie Unit approach to measuring workload is most often what comes to mind when instructors are planning a course. For every hour of in-class or synchronous time, undergraduate students can be expected to dedicate an extra 1 to 1.5 hours outside of class time, engaging with the course content. So it's a recommended 1 to 1.5 ratio. So for a 3-credit course with 3 hours of contact time in class per week, this adds up to an additional 3 to 5 hours of students' own time. In other words, a standard undergraduate course requires 6 to 8 hours of students' time per week, synchronous and asynchronous time combined. And then this makes sense because if a full-time student is taking 5 courses, this adds up to 30 to 40 hours per week. The yardstick isn't quite as clear for graduate courses. Perhaps because graduate students take fewer courses, the 6 to 8 hours per course per week recommendations should be increased, or perhaps not, because graduate students are likely balancing their studies with substantial career and family commitments. Because of the variability and the complexity of university teaching circumstances, not many of our courses have neatly packaged 3 hours in class, 3 hours outside of class. It's just so different. An instructor or an instructional team can discuss and agree upon different time parameters. In my experience and my discussions with instructors and instructor teams, aiming to keep all asynchronous and synchronous components within this 6 to 8 hour load for undergraduate and graduate courses is reasonable. It's not mandatory. It's not a formula. It's a guideline. It's food for thought, and it's a starting point for your discussions with your colleagues. The building blocks of asynchronous student workload, or things that students do outside of class time, include what you see here: readings, watching videos, completing assignments, attempting quizzes, and studying for exams. And students also need time to meet with group members, work on projects, engage in the creating, researching, rehearsing, whatever else is required by the course activities. So as you can see, there is lots to do. Let's go one by one through a few of them. Reading rate for comprehension is 100 words per minute. That sounds slow, but again, it's for comprehension. And of course, we read much faster when we're enjoying a novel in our free time. I have the link for this review and meta-analysis in the references slide at the end of the presentation. So, for example, a 5-page journal article can take about an hour to read and understand, and this being based on being approximately 1,300 words. Other than the first page and pages with some figures and tables, journal articles are really packed with words. Oops. Watching videos for comprehension requires double the time, taking into consideration time for pausing and replaying. So, for example, 30 minutes of video time can take an hour for students to watch and understand. And this number is based on pre-recorded videos that are purposefully made to deliver content in a succinct manner. If you are recording entire lectures and posting them on eClass, then now this would be more of a 1-to-1 ratio of time. Assignments and quizzes. Learners need approximately 3 times longer than the time it takes the subject matter expert, that's you or your teaching assistant, to create the answer key. So, for example, if the answer key, or just you or your teaching assistant doing the quiz, if that takes about 20 minutes, then you can estimate that students will need about an hour for that assignment or quiz. And for timed quizzes, you could also go back to the reading rate being 100 words per minute if your quiz happens to be really text heavy. And finally, studying for exams is a ratio of 2 hours of study time for 1 hour of lecture content. For example, an exam covering 7 lecture hours, students can be advised to dedicate 14 hours of study time in the preceding days. Again, my source for this number is on the references section. Communication is key to informing students about the level of engagement required for success in their university course. When students know the required workload, they can integrate the course into the remainder of their studies and their other life commitments. Instructors can provide students with regular reminders about forthcoming tasks and due dates, along with something like this, a workload map. It's a visual representation of each course component and its time allotment per week. This one, it's a fairly simple workload map. The orange represents in-class activities. Blue and green represent readings and videos respectively. And these ones are pre-class readings and pre-class videos. Gray represents independent study time, and the yellow represents the summative midterm and final exams. So get out your pencil crayons. The creation of a workload map by an instructor requires careful thinking about the value and the depth of each component of your course. And then the sharing of a map like this with students can facilitate their internal motivation and their self-directedness. Here is a screenshot of the blog post that this idea of a workload map comes from. And you can see that the author really does get out her pencil crayons when she's planning a course. The blog post also includes a downloadable spreadsheet for your own workload map building. So again, 2 points. Using time to measure workload, it's not perfect, but it's a starting point for your own course building and your discussions with your colleagues. And second, communication is key. Let students know what is expected of them on a regular week-by-week basis.